Hello, 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 everybody. It's so good to be with you this morning, and I have a special treat for you. This is a very spontaneous conversation, but I am so excited about being able to introduce to you one of the members of our group, but also a special friend and someone who's been writing and answering her call to write, the beautiful Ella Legan. Good morning, Ella, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Meliza, for the opportunity to come on with you. That's so amazing and encouraging.
Awesome. I'm so glad you are here, and thank you for taking the opportunity to share your experience with our group. I know for some of them, some of our members, they haven't actually been in the process of publishing their first book yet, and I think they'll have a lot to glean from your journey. So thank you for sharing that. And for the rest of us, it's encouraging as well, you know, for us who's been in that journey of publishing, and we know the challenges and we know the struggles sometimes that authors go through. It's encouraging to hear from another person who said yes to their call to write. So thanks. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about when you first felt that call to write.
Yes, it's such a good question. I pondered or could ponder very long over it. I think as a child, I loved storytelling to my younger brother, and I lived those stories in my head, and all the creativity was already there. And I also loved listening to my uncle who wrote poems, or other family members writing poems. And then I started also writing poems and journaling as a child, and that helped me to structure my day and to organize my emotions. And writing was a special part on my heart, but to write for public was another step. But maybe it started with poems for maybe a wedding or a birthday, such little things. Yes, that was maybe a little beginning.
Awesome. So writing brought you joy, and then you kind of use that writing to bring joy to other people as well, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So what was the very first book you wrote for? Was it for public, or did you write it just for enjoyment?
It came out of joy. It was in 2008 or 2009. I was part of an art group in the church I went in this time, and there were different kinds of artists, the most painted, beautiful, amazing paintings. And at the end of when we prepared an art exhibition together, and at one exhibition, I wrote a lot of poems, and another artist encouraged me to bundle these poems to a book. And that was my very, very first journey to go on this way to get the message out. On the art exhibition, it was a little going step out, but to put it together in a book. But I think in 2009, it was just a step out of obedience to know, okay, if somebody wants to read them, I just put them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what other books have you written?
Yeah, that was this little poetry book was my very, very first one in 2008. And then in 2018, my writing changed, and the poetry, I'm still a poet in my heart, but the storytelling came from, when I said as a child, storytelling was part of my heart's desire. And out of time I spent with the Lord, a lot of allegory flowed out of or inside my heart, out of how I ever said. And I started to write in this year 5 manuscripts, and it just finished then in this time too. And I said to the Lord, okay, and now what should I do with it? Is it just for me, or should I give it somewhere else? And it was a journey that then started very seriously for me, that I asked a publisher, and in this year I got an answer. Yes, the content is interesting, but it may be not fit for our sorry, I'm lacking of words.
Yeah.
For our
audience.
Yes, that was sorry, I'm German, so English is
That's
not my
fine.
language.
You're doing great.
Explain. Yes, and so but this one email just discouraged me in such a way that I put this manuscript on the shelf for years. And yes, now I should come back to your question. You asked me for the other books. Yes.
But if I can just stop you there, because I think you've made a really important point, and I know this isn't on the questions, but I want to just kind of talk about that for a minute, because I had a similar experience with sharing my content and not getting feedback that I was hoping to get. Yeah. And I think it's so easy to get discouraged when we don't see people respond immediately with the same enthusiasm as we've written our books. And I think it's important, as we set out, to kind of guard our hearts against that disappointment and discouragement. Just because something isn't for that particular audience doesn't mean that there isn't a very specific audience that you are called to write to. So if anybody needs to hear that today, I just wanted to put that out there, because I know what it feels like to kind of carry that discouragement and disappointment. I carried it for a long time myself. I just shelved everything and just thought, well, there's nothing of value here. But that was such a lie, and I think now, what if I just never put my book out there or put my message out there? What if that message was just for that one person who needed to have hope or needed to hear that message? We don't want to listen to that lie of discouragement and stop from putting our books out there.
Yeah, and it goes so well with your message, how you entangled this lie, and it really fits to your first book.
Yeah. So what other books have you written then?
Yes. After some years, I had written the book what was on the shelf came back, and I had written it in English, and it was a journey. It was a long journey, but after that, last year, this English book came out in German, and this is my really, really heart's desire from this long journey. This book, in English, it would be called Step Forward into Your Encounter with the Father Heart of God. And it came out last year and was just also a sign of God that publishing could be easy. So, yes.
Yeah.
Last year, the Lord led me to a publisher, and it was a very good experience to publish this book. Yes.
That's really awesome. Really awesome. So, what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you as an author?
Yeah, to stay focused for me, because I'm very creative and I have so many ideas in my head, and I really need to focus on one theme, on one message, and don't be distracted by all the other creative ideas, but also by the hindrances on my way. There are hindrances or stones on every way, and how do I overcome them? And I have to be aware what might be on my way, but to stay focused on this project. And yes, marketing is also a big challenge to bring this message out and not to be distracted by all the up and down emotions that come up, as I already, or as we discussed and described this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot in that answer that I can relate to and that I've experienced. The challenging of marketing our message is absolutely one I think I'm very familiar with as well. And I love what you said about being aware of the emotions that come up when you do write, because they can be obstacles that will make you stumble and it will distract you from doing what you're called to do. So being aware of those emotions are so important. How do you stay focused? What works for you? What works for you to really stay focused on one project? Because I have to say, this is one area that I struggle with as well. I've got so many different ideas and I just want to, I've started so many books, right? I've started loads and I don't finish all of them.
Yeah. I think one focus is for me the outline, to have a really, really good outline, to stay focused, but also hold it loosely.
Yes.
And this was the surprise on this currently book project, that I was in the middle of my third manuscript to finish this book, what I started in 2000, not 2018, so sorry, yes, 5 years ago. And I have all the outlines on the books that I started, and I have printed out these outlines, and I know where I stopped and where I have to go. So I have a goal. I need to set goals, and how do I go to the finish line?
Yeah.
And that helps me to stay focused, but also to hold those outlines loosely, that there is space for enough creativity and joy. When I become too when it becomes too strong, or then it may rob my joy.
Yes.
And so it's
yeah. I love that. I love that. That is my language. Like a good structure, like knowing what you're going, where you're taking the reader. It helps with so much. It helps with focus. It helps not getting writer's block, because you know where you need to pick up again. You don't have to read through the whole manuscript to kind of remember where you were at, so you can carry on with the next step or the next chapter. This is amazing advice. And that was actually one of the things I asked, is what is your biggest piece of advice? What would you tell authors if you had one piece of advice to give them?
Don't be discouraged. I just want to say, step forward each day, one little step, and to to have a group and surrounding with other authors is also helpful to encourage each other and to stay accountable. I read in your group that you also ask those questions, what is your goal this week? And this is so helpful to have people to ask for the goals and to keep and help us keeping accountable on our goals. And sometimes, yeah, we get lost.
Yes.
And
yeah. We need each other, don't we? I think accountability is absolutely key. And I think writing, when you are in that process of writing your book, it can feel very isolating.
Yes.
And knowing that there are other people who are in the process, doing their thing, and coming together, encouraging each other, that is priceless. It really is priceless. So the exciting part that I've been waiting for is to talk about this amazing new children's book that you received from the Lord. Tell us more about your book.
Yes, this book was really a surprise. As I was sitting in the third manuscript and tried to stay focused, the theme is about transformation and also about butterflies. But I felt a little bit stuck, and on my outline, I was just sitting there and trying to make some writing exercises. And while I was sitting there, suddenly this little butterfly story, like a tail, dropped out of heaven, I could say. And it was just such a joy to write it. And it was an afternoon, everyday life, and I started to write and I couldn't stop. And so I wrote the whole afternoon, and about the story about this little butterfly, and it's called Uniquely Loved. And Uniquely Loved is a sword from the king, and the king placed the sword into the grass, and out of the sword came a caterpillar, and this caterpillar had the identity of uniquely loved. She really knew, because the king placed it inside of her, that she is really uniquely loved. Yeah, but there are other voices that tell her who she isn't, and all that brought her to a point that she really was discouraged on her way, and compared with those other animals she met on her journey, and she needed to be reminded who she was and what she was created for.
Wow. That's just so awesome. I actually have chills just listening to that. And, I feel like God is certainly moving in this genre of children's books and children's stories. So who would you say your age group is for? Who is the person you are hoping to reach with these books?
I think it can start at the age of 5 years, that when parents want to read to them a story that, maybe in the evenings, a bedtime story that could reach them. And when those, especially girls, are growing, comparison stays a theme.
Yeah.
And also we as grown-ups, so when the parents read those stories to their children, or maybe also women pick up this book of knowing and reminding who they were and what they are created for.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's powerful. I love what you say on the back of the book. It talks about that lie of comparison that starts so young in us. We start to compare ourselves with everybody around us. And even as an author, we can do that. Sometimes we see an author do amazing things or publish their book and it looks so easy. And here we are struggling to kind of finish our first manuscript, and this other person has published loads of other books and they're doing well. And we can start to question our own identity as an author, and or just as, you know, as being uniquely loved with a unique message, and being loved by the King. You know, all of the things that we were created to do was wired into us even before we were born. I love that image of the King creating this caterpillar, and the message of being uniquely loved is already in them, you know, in this little caterpillar. That is such a powerful picture. And I know as well, when I received my children's book in a very similar way, which was so amazing to connect with you and to see what God has done with your book.
I love your book so much. It's so awesome.
But it's the same message, isn't it? It's about comparison and not comparing ourselves to what other people are doing, because we are so uniquely made. And that's what I loved. I loved that you reached out to me and you shared your book. Can you show us your book and we see what it looks like? And you've got them in both English and German, right?
Yes. So this is the softcover version.
Beautiful.
And
look at that illustration, that owl.
Yeah.
Amazing. Beautiful.
And there are other animals on the way. And here's the caterpillar.
Wow. It's beautiful, Ella. And it's so proud of you. And you created the illustrations as well, didn't you? So
yes, it was an experiment, because I had on my heart this book project would be just out of joy and just a fast project to you encouraged me with your book, and I said, okay, I don't want to be that this book will be a long process, so I just played around and I found those little apps where you can generate pictures. It's called artificial intelligence, and yeah, so when I typed my words, my messages out of my book, and I figured out which picture went well with the message. That was just out of fun.
Yeah, and you've got the hardcover as well, right?
Yes, here's the hardcover in English and in German. Yes, the hardcover is I like hardcover because it's good to grab, and
you've got some beautiful coloring pages.
Yes, I have coloring pages in the end. I try to show you. There you have coloring pages, some larger ones, and here you can write down your good thoughts.
I love that.
Yeah, that not about comparison, but especially that you or the child is uniquely loved. And also for the children, they can draw very free on these sides. So you don't have to write there, but if you feel to write, you can. But the little children can just play around with this side.
That's really awesome. I love that. And where can we find your book?
It's on Amazon. Yes.
Okay. So I am going to put all the links into the comment section on this live broadcast. It'll also be in the description, because this conversation will be uploaded to YouTube later today. So all the information will be there. You can connect with Ella at ellalegan.com. Again, I will put that in there for you, quick access, quick links, and I'll also put a link to your books on Amazon so people can grab a copy of that. Ella, thank you so much for coming on live here and sharing your message and sharing all the valuable treasures that you've picked up along this journey of saying yes to the call to write. I am so proud of you, and I'm so blessed to know you and to connect with you. And thank you for being a part of our group.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come on with you, and for every encouragement. You are such a voice of encouragement, and yes, we all need that encouragement. But I also want to say what's written on my shirt today: be the change. That we are just step out boldly sometimes, and to make a change in this world.
Yes, absolutely. That's so good. And that's what everybody in this group are doing by saying yes and living that message that you were born to write. So yeah, go out there, be the change. Awesome. Thanks, Ella. Bye, everyone.
Bye.